Made it down to Battersea Park. It's about 5k from Nick's place. I was just wondering, Nick, what are you training for at the moment?
What's up? Good to have you at Battersea, my playground. We've got a nice session lined up. So today, it's pretty much just about control. My main event for the upcoming weeks is Manchester Marathon.
Nice.
I've obviously shot for sub 220 5 times now. Last 4 attempts I've got close. Hopefully this will be the one, but we'll see. Hopefully banking some more sessions like this.
Yeah, nice. So yeah, we've got 15 by K with 60 seconds recovery, and we're going to do it slightly progressive. So sort of starting at half marathon and then working down to sort of 10k pace. Sun's out, it's a little bit windy, but other than that, we should have a good session.
Okay, it's business time. There's time for fun and games in the week, and then there's times to really lock in that focus, concentrate on the outcome of the session, put in the work, and level up, and this is one of those times. Okay, so this voiceover is going to be slightly different to my previous videos. I'm going to do some reps. I'm going to hand it over to Ben to speak through some reps. It'll hopefully give you a different perspective of things as to how we approach these sessions, and hopefully you can learn a lot. Do you ever come across these situations in your training where you're starting your rep at the same time as someone else is starting their rep? You kind of stick together for around 100 meters or so and then head off and do your separate sessions. I must say I do around 90% of these sessions by myself just because of the time I have to train with my little ones, but it was really cool to have some company today, especially for these bigger sessions, these 15 times 1 kilometer sessions where it's 15 k's of volume. You know, the total run's probably around 26 to 28 k's with warm-up, cool-down and float recovery in between. So to just have one other person there helped so much.
So yeah, thanks for having me on the channel, Nick. Thought I'd talk through some of these reps that we were doing down here in the beautiful Battersea Park. I think this is rep number 2 or 3. So we're just settling into a nice rhythm, starting these reps at around half marathon pace. So from memory, it was around 3:12 per kilometre. Here we are dodging a van, one of the many obstacles that we came across in the park, as you'll see in this video. So just cruising along nicely, finding a nice rhythm. I think around 158 beats per minute was my heart rate for these first few reps. Just settle into the pace, getting a feel for the conditions. Carolina on the bike doing a great job. So yeah, in general Battersea was fairly busy. Beautiful sunny morning. We had to dodge a few people, a few dogs, a few bikes. Something I'm not really used to doing, living out more in the countryside. So here is our first contender that's just about to take us out from the right hand side. Here he comes. Oh, nearly got us. Running along at sort of 3:10 per k pace. That's actually pretty scary. But yeah, practice a little bit of acceleration and we managed to settle back into the rest of the rep.
When you do these sorts of sessions, working hard in a very busy Battersea Park, you really have to anticipate things. Obviously the park's there for everyone, but you got to almost think about worst case scenario. What if a dog runs across you? What if a biker comes across you? What if someone quickly steps in the wrong direction? And it just makes you more aware, and hopefully you see the situation happening before it's too late. Switching to the head cam, this is how the view looks to us running at the moment, and I must say I've done about 1 billion laps in Battersea Park before, but just look how beautiful it looks. It just never gets old. That was filmed on Ben's head cam. You could probably tell because, as you can see, his running style is silky smooth. In actual fact, I met someone who I was coaching afterwards. I gave him a very high-level gait analysis where I analyzed his form, gave him a few drills. He then looked at me and he said, "Are you going to do the same for this guy?" and pointed towards Ben. And I said to him, "How can I do it for him if his form is better than mine?" So I've done quite a lot of running with Ben in the past, especially in races, some nice head-to-head battles, all good, healthy competition. Our PBs are actually very similar, apart from the marathon. I'm 220, he's 224, but he's going to get significantly faster than that. I wouldn't be surprised if he smashes my marathon PB one day. But kudos to him. I know he was, not recently, but towards the end of last year, he had a stress reaction in his hip, which wiped him out from running for quite a while, and he seemed to have come back really strong. I think he did a lot of cross training, and you can see it paying off. He's probably running almost the best, I would say, as he's ever has before, and I'm really keen to see how he gets along in Copenhagen. This is the rep with a bit of a tailwind behind us. We split there to dodge the dog. 3:10 for this rep. Can't ask for much more.
Okay.
Carolina on the bike was amazing. She had never filmed before. She did an absolutely incredible job, and thank you so much once again. I think she started enjoying it more and more the more the session went on. Okay, so just to remind you the sort of effort you should be working at in these sorts of sessions. So we said we'd start off at around half marathon effort, so somewhere probably around 80 to 85%, working hard but knowing that you can progress throughout. Then we look to finish at around goal 10k pace, so probably around 95% effort levels, working hard, very hard, but you could always find that extra little bit on race day. By us progressing the pace as the reps go on, it's definitely one of the most productive way to train. I know a lot of the world's best train like that, and also by doing it that way, you are reaching very close to your VO2 max towards the end, but you're not putting your body into a big state of fatigue from early on, so it should reduce the stiffness you have the next day. Here we're approaching the end of our 5th rep, 3:12 and 1/3 of the way in.
So now on to the 6th rep. This is where we started to slightly progress the session. We aim to hit around 3:12 for the first 5 reps, and then reps 5 to 10 we're aiming more around 3:10 per kilometre, so maybe 5 or 6 seconds quicker than the first few reps. This is when you really start to feel the session. That slight change in pace, it always amazes me how 3 or 4 seconds per kilometre just feels that bit harder, but we try to work hard still alongside each other here, which I think is always a good sign when runners are sort of working together rather than sort of tucked in behind. We could have done, probably would have been a little bit easier for us in hindsight. I think it's a testament to how well we were both feeling, sharing the work, and just enjoying the view here in Battersea Park. Looks a little bit different to my routes, and as Nick suggested, we're going to be doing a session in my neck of the woods in the next video, so he'll get to see what my usual conditions are like. But yeah, that was the end of the 6th rep, the first rep where we started to increase the pace. So this is where things get a little bit more serious. The chit chat between the reps becomes a lot more minimal, and we just start to focus now on the session and getting it done. Only a minute recovery between the reps means you just have enough time to catch your breath, jog slightly just to keep warm, and then get ready for the next rep. Here we are side by side again, working hard, passing a few other runners in the park. It's always a nice feeling, I can't lie, when you speed past somebody else. Gives you that little bit extra boost. And just making sure we stay out of other people's way as well while we fly around Battersea Park, past a buggy there. And at this point in the session, probably just before the halfway mark, I was starting to feel a little bit fatigued, starting to creep in a little bit, but overall felt nice and smooth. Some days at this point in the session it can be really tough, you have to start really working hard, but today everything was flowing nicely. Had a new pair of shoes on, they were feeling great, and I always find a little bit of company with these longer sessions really helps mentally get through them. So yeah, big benefit of getting down to London with Nick is we know we're going to have a good session because we push each other on just that little bit more than we would if we were training solo. So just checking the watch there, had my current pace displayed on my watch just to make sure that you were roughly in the right ballpark. We're would check that maybe every sort of 400 meters just to see that we were on pace, but the majority of the session was done to feel, and because Battersea is so flat, it's pretty easy to hit the right paces. Didn't have too much elevation, slight bit of a headwind on this rep, but other than that, it's a really good location to get the session done. You can see our stride there is pretty much in sync. Even if you just listen, you can hear our cadence is almost the same. Nick's got a slightly longer stride than mine, but from that side view there, fairly similar. And there we go, coming to the end of this rep. 3:08 per K, not bad.
Your mind plays a huge part in these sessions. Physically, you can almost always do it, but mentally wrapping your head around just the volume of the session can be challenging. Let me explain to you exactly how we broke it down. Well, this is how I broke it down. I don't know if Ben broke it down the same, but because there was 15 reps, I basically broke it down into 5, 5, and 5. So from the first rep, you're kind of hurting already, but you really just got to focus on the small mini goals at hand. So the first 5, I thought the same way as I almost break down at the beginning of a 5K is active warm-up. You're working hard, but save the fireworks for later on. Okay, then the middle 5 is grind, grind, grind. Focus. It was really nice to get over rep from 7 to 8, because from 8, you know, it's downhill from there. And then the last 5 reps, boom, that's where the money is made. That's what separates you from the rest. That's what you really have to focus on. Think about those race day vibes, crossing that finish line, and exactly the work you put in there is going to help you feel good and get that time across there. So the last 5, I actually broke down into 4, because to me, I try and mentally block out that the last one never counts, even though that rep was into quite a strong headwind. What I love most about the stretch is that it's not one dead straight stretch, so you can trick your brain a bit as well. You turn the corner. From once we turn this corner, it's 400 meters until the finish point, so it's mentally it's quite nice to break down, whereas if it was 1 kilometer dead straight, it just seems a bit further. The pace is really cranking up with that last rep being 3:07. I don't want Ben to leave me behind. He doesn't want me to leave him behind. So we're both actually working comfortably tough, I would say, at the moment. Starting to get a little bit more uncomfortable towards the end. But a few people might wonder why we didn't actually do this track session, as we call it, on track. Well, to be honest, Battersea is almost as flat as track. We're targeting road races which are a very similar surface to this, and we felt that actually for a session of this volume, it'll be much easier mentally to go around the park from point to point rather than doing laps and laps and laps and laps and laps. So the shoes I did the session in is the Adidas Pro 3 shoe. This exact pair, I actually raced Berlin Marathon in them. I've just got a newer pair, fresh pair for Manchester. However, I must say there's still a lot of life, pop and spring left in the shoe, so I'm starting to use them as a training shoe. Things are really cranking up here. We're starting to move along nicely, working a bit harder than before. This rep, 3:06 per kilometer. The middle 5 is done, down to the last 5. Let's go.
Maybe like that.
So for me, in terms of shoes, I went for the Essex Metaspeed Sky Paris. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's a new shoe that's coming out from Essex. I've really been enjoying it so far. I've done a 10k tempo session, some shorter track reps, and now this 15 by a K session with Nick. It's a little bit softer than the previous version, but just as responsive, and I think it handled this session probably the best of all the runs I've done in it so far. Sort of that half marathon 10k pace is feeling really smooth, but yeah, as Nick said, we're on to the business end now of this workout. Those last 5 reps, you can see on my face there that I'm starting to feel this one slightly less relaxed and a little bit more of a grimace, and I reckon Nick's hurting under those sunglasses as well, but slightly harder to tell. We're both working hard as the pace sort of reaches around 3:05 per kilometre. Still side by side, both our form looks fairly similar to when we started, which is always a good sign. We're not really fatiguing too much through the form. and these 1k reps are relatively short to what sort of distances we're used to covering, hence why we're doing 15 of them today. If this was more of a 5k, 10k workout, the number of reps would probably be slightly less, but the intensity and the repetition would be higher. So for example, if I was training for a 5k, I would be doing 6 by a k at 5k or 5k faster paces. But yeah, coming into the end of this rep, both feeling pretty good as we approach the end of the session.
So I'm not going to talk through this rep, just to give you guys a good feel of exactly how hard we're working and how it feels out there. One thing I would say is just look out for the dog that almost takes me out mid-rep. Dodge, duck, dip, dive and dodge. Rep 12 was an absolute beaut, 303 per kilometer. Once again, we're not fully emptying the tank, so really happy with that splits, and only 3 left to go. Well, 2, because the last one never counts, remember.
This is the part of the park.
It was a Friday, so I know in my world Fridays are normally easy runs, and I'm sure a lot of people in Battersea just doing an easy Friday stroll around lunchtime would have seen us slogging out the session and thinking, do these guys not know that it's a Friday? If you're unable to do these sessions with a person or a group of people, that's okay. Sometimes I think it actually is a good thing to be able to grind it through yourself. It definitely makes you mentally stronger. But if you're able to find someone or a group of people, it makes a huge difference. If you look at the world's best, the Kipchoges of the world, he trains in a big group. And I think what it does in this situation is that I was suffering a few days before, but when I was by myself, it's a whole lot less to go through when you know someone else is hurting, and it sort of takes your mind off things a little bit. Okay, we're well into the last quarter of the session, and now is where I really try and focus. If I look at my last 2 marathon attempts, I've been on track for a 2:20. I've just lost it in that last quarter, so that's really where I need to make up in my upcoming attempts. I feel that if you train the body to progress, pick it up throughout training, then on race day you hopefully will at least be able to sustain it when that last 10Ks of a marathon or last bit of a race kicks in. Going into this week, I was unsure of whether I should target it sub 220 at Manchester or not, but if I believe there's even a 1% chance, I can guarantee you I will throw absolutely everything I can at it. Rep 13, 3:05. Happy Nick, happy Ben, happy days. As you can probably tell, that wind is picking up, but so too is our pace, working harder than ever before, the hardest we've worked in the session. Here's a quick look at my heart rate throughout the session, maxing out at 174. My absolute max I've got it to is 188 in recent times, so that represents 92.5% of my heart rate max, gradually climbing throughout each rep. Just have a listen as to how hard we're working. Deep into the red, but not quite racing. We're both very competitive, so it's important we didn't end up racing each other and just kept a lid on it slightly to keep the session super productive.
So here we go, the last rep. Time some fireworks, or maybe not today. We just increased the pace ever so slightly. I think we ended up running 3 minutes per K for this last one. I think both of us were feeling the session. And just for reference, 3 minutes per K is around my 5K pace, so we were certainly shifting here, but feeling good, feeling in control, and looking forward to the end of this one. I'm 8 weeks out from my next marathon in Copenhagen, and I think Nick is 5 weeks from his, so we're just keen to bank a good session and move on to the next. Here we are approaching the end. 3:00.
15 times 1K. Oh my word.
Oh, how you doing?
It hurts so good. It hurts so good.
Yeah.
So pretty much as according to plan, last one was 3 into wind.
Nice.
How did you
really
find
good. I'm not
the
gonna
into
lie.
wind against wind?
The 13th rep into the wind really got to me. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be hanging on for the last 2 reps here, but I think that's the difference when you're working out with somebody. Like those last 2 reps, I probably would have stuck around 3:05, but because I was with Nick, we managed to squeeze maybe like 5 or 6 seconds out of each other. So
100%.
yeah, really good session.
Now you know where I do my track and interval sessions every week. But no, honestly, it was awesome to have you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Like, I suffer alone normally because of my schedule and time, so to have someone to do it with, it just makes the effort feel a little bit less hard. And yeah, I can't ask for much more than that. I've got 5 weeks to go. You got 9 weeks to go.
8, just over 8. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm coming to Ben's side of the world next week for a set of 3K sessions, so looking forward to that.
That was really good, man.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for filming as well. You did a great job.
Carolina!
I didn't do my hair.
Yay!